Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm glad I'm finally done with the Descendants movies because I feel just kind of too burnt out from them, honestly. I think because I was watching so many of them like back to back to back to back. But also it's like they're kind of feeling a bit samey and a bit boring because I feel like, because there's 5 of these already. But like the third movie, it felt like the plot was kind of weak. But it was still like enjoyable as a movie. And then Rise of Red, I felt was when things were kind of going downhill. I feel like probably because they changed directors is probably a part of it. Like it was cool. It had like a different cast. You get to see a bunch of new characters. And it's like a new generation of Oregon High or Oregon Prep. I keep wanting to say Oregon High, Oregon Prep students, and it's like about time travel. So it's like, okay, at least it's something sort of different. I mean, the story doesn't really feel that original. It follows the same kind of plot as like a lot of time travel movies where it's like we got to go and prevent the big thing from happening. And this one just, I don't know, feels really unnecessary. This kind of reminded me a lot of Descendents 3 because it's basically like the main character and her friend and a bunch of other people, like a big group of people, all have to go on just like an adventure. It's not really like anyone taking over the kingdom or anything, and there's like a villain in a cottage that's like kind of watching over them the whole time, and it feels very much like Descendants 3. The difference though, and what makes this one worse, is like, first off, we haven't had like Chloe and Red for as long. I mean, I know it's like this is the second movie with them, and I know with Mal and her friends it was like it took like 3 movies, but it's like it still feels like we haven't had these 2 characters very long, and they just spent like the previous movie like learning to become friends and stuff. And the other thing is like they're introduced so many new characters. I mean, they kind of have to, because like all the other characters we met in the previous movie were ones that took place in the past, and there's like no time travel in this, so we can't use any of those characters anymore, so they have to have new characters. But like there's so many new characters that get added and that are part of this like adventure traveling group. First off, it's like way too many, and it's like I don't know who any of these people are, so it's kind of hard for me to care about any of them. I think with the difference with like Descendants 3 is like it was mostly characters that you'd seen before and stuff, and their interactions with the main characters and stuff. So it's like by the time you get to that point in the third movie, it's like you are invested in these people and their interactions and stuff. I think it was cool, like they brought back Uma, for example. Like she was a major character in the third movie, and it was about her getting like a redemption arc and her friend becoming friends with like Mal and stuff. So there was at least like meaningful things that were happening. But with this one, and it's like they keep separating people in the group too. It's just there's so many characters and things that feel really unnecessary with this movie. I mean, I do like that there is still a focus on both Red and Chloe, and their friendship, where they start kind of getting into fights about stuff. And this is actually kind of also like Descendants 3, where it's like Mal does something that gets everyone pissed off at her, and she starts like treating people worse. It's kind of like that with this one actually as well, where it's like Red is being really selfish, but especially in terms of Chloe, to the point like Red treats Chloe so badly in this movie, which only takes place in like the span of a few days, mind you, that Chloe decides to become a villain at the end for a little bit. Like it gets that bad for her. But yeah, the plot of this was different than I expected, because with the way that the last movie was ended, it was like, oh yeah, the timeline's messed up. I mean, the plot of this movie is about like, hey, we have to face the consequences of our time travel, but I thought it meant it was that they were gonna have to like go back into the past and fix something there, and then get to continue their lives in the present. I really thought this was gonna be more of like a part 2. Plus I liked the the versions of a lot of the characters in the past anyway, so I was excited to see them again. I actually did really like Ella and Bridget, and I was hoping they were in this, and they're not. Yeah, there's no time travel in this. Instead, the consequences of their actions end up being that the Mad Hatter, it was just called like Maddox in this, which is still like kind of weird to me unless he's supposed to be like an original character, because I'm assuming he's supposed to be the Mad Hatter because like he has a son in this named Max, so I don't know. Where it's like Maddox is trying to find the pocket watch that Red stole, the time machine, and Red ends up locking it. She never gives it back, by the way, or tells him. But the thing is, like, a whole lot of time has like actually passed when they get back to the present. I thought it was just gonna be like, oh, we were only gone for like a few minutes or something, but no, there's like the future is like or the past ends up becoming really different, where it's like Maddox has become evil because he's been searching for this pocket watch for so long and no one believes him. Like, people's entire backstories are different. There's like a new person that didn't exist before the time travel that just gets spawned into the universe. There's like a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, it is cool that like Red does get to be nice this time and isn't like an evil dictator, but she gets kidnapped immediately, and actually both her and Cinderella are like out of the picture pretty much for almost the entire movie, in that they're just held hostage, and they get some scenes together and stuff, but they don't really get to do anything. And then there's a new character, I think her name's Chessie, the Cheshire Cat's daughter, which I feel like is just an excuse to have Awkwafina voice a character without having her actually be like in the movie. I mean, like, good for her that she has that she seems to be finding a lot of roles for voice acting stuff, but I feel like she plays a lot of the same kind of like snarky like CGI animal characters that I'm just kind of tired of hearing her in so many things, honestly. I feel like a lot of the characters she voices don't really end up being that interesting. But yeah, this new cat character is the narrator, and not just for like the opening sequence of like, hey, here's a recap of the previous movie, but she narrates shit throughout like the entire movie and shows up every once in a while. She actually feels like more of the villain than Maddox does, because she actually interacts with the characters and starts manipulating people. She's basically trying to turn all these like teens against each other pretty much, so she actually ends up being more of like an interesting villain, even though she's supposed to be like the villain's sidekick. But it does feel kind of weird. I didn't even think about it, of like all of the like kid characters we've been seeing have been of human or humanoid characters. We haven't had any that have been the kids of like animal sidekicks or animal characters, because I was like, wait, why is one of these kids a cat now? But like the Cheshire Cat is a cat. I was half expecting them to pull it somehow to be like, oh, she'd be like a human that could turn into a cat, but then that would just make it really weird. It does make more sense that she's a cat, but I feel like, you know, she's based on like the Cheshire Cat and stuff, and they do sort of give her the smile from what I remember, but I feel like design wise she just doesn't feel as interesting. I feel like she's probably also supposed to be based more design wise on the Cheshire Cat from like the live action Alice in Wonderland movie from like 2010, because she has the same eyes, because the eyes for like the animated Alice in Wonderland, you know, the one from I think like the 50s, the Cheshire Cat has like very different eyes, like the style of them and stuff. I don't really like design the Cheshire Cat from like the 2010 Alice, to be honest with you. But then again, a lot of the character designs in that kind of creeped me out. But yeah, I feel like the Cheshire Cat character, like she does stuff, she's part of the plot, she manipulates things, but she's not really interesting, and I didn't really care about her. And then they introduced some new like villain characters and stuff. Like Robin Hood has a son, which is kind of funny to me. I think his name's like Robbie Hood, because that was another point too of like, you know, related to the Cheshire Cat thing, like Disney Robin Hood, like, because a lot of these characters are based on like the animated Disney movies. Disney Robin Hood was like a talking anthropomorphic fox, so why is his son in this like a human person? Unless we're going into like, okay, characters from stories rather than like specifically Disney counterparts. I kind of forgot about him, to be honest. He doesn't really get much to do. And then what was kind of weird to me, like, I understand it's like a popular property and stuff in Kanto, but a lot of these characters are based on like older Disney characters and stuff. I feel like the newest they go is like the 90s, so it like really threw me off of like, oh hey, you're someone from a movie from like, I'm making up a year, like 2017 or whatever, and I'm like, wait, what? Because then that means there's like an entire gap of like Disney characters were like missing and stuff. But yeah, Louisa, she has a son. I think her name was Louisa. It's been a bit since I've seen Encanto. She has a son named Luis. What was kind of weird to me with him is that a lot of the kids in these movies, like, they do have like similar abilities to like their parents and stuff. But Luis has like literally the exact same powers as his mom. There's like no changes in them whatsoever. It's just the super strength. He not only has her powers, he also inherited her angst too, of being like, oh, everyone expects me to be the strong one, I have to be there for that. He inherited her exact issues from her movie. Is really funny to me. But he's like the main character out of like all of the new characters that get added, where he's, I guess, sort of set up as like Red's love interest. Like, they don't actually get together, but they get like a lot of scenes where it's just the two of them, and he does kind of flirt with her a bit, and they, I guess, are friends by the end of the movie. I actually liked him as a character. He was okay. And then they add some new villain kids too. They add oh wait, no, there's like other people I forgot. Let me see. Because the Mad Hatter, he has a son who is like, I guess, like the secondary villain. It feels like there's so many characters that end up as villains in this. It gets just kind of a bit too much, honestly. But the Mad Hatter, he has a son named Max, and his thing's kind of interesting, where it's like in the bad timeline, as I'll call it, the original timeline or whatever, you know, his dad's a good guy and he's like Red's best friend, and his son is just like a normal like hero kid or whatever, but then in this new timeline, I guess, because his dad ends up becoming a villain and gets like made fun of by people and stuff, Max is also a villain and dresses completely differently and is like basically a different person. I actually did feel bad for him because he's trying to get the pocket watch. At first it's like he wants to help his dad and everything, so it seems like he's on like the good guy's side, and he keeps saying like, I don't want to be like my dad, but then he tries to get the pocket watch at the end, even if it's like putting people in danger and stuff, because he wants to, it's like wanting to get revenge on Red but also wanting to help his dad. But then because he ends up with like kind of the same issues as Red did originally, of like, oh, my parents evil and don't show me a lot of attention, I need to use time travel to be able to fix it. And I feel like Max does kind of deserve that a bit, because, you know, the girls messed up the timeline. It wasn't originally like that, but instead they end up throwing the pocket watch in a magic well at the end, so Max just kind of has to live with like, okay, your dad's evil and stuff, and that's it. I feel like that wasn't fair, because like both Chloe and Red got to use time travel to save their moms. That was like the whole point, and that was like Red's thing of like, yeah, I need to prevent my mom I mean, to be fair, like the evil queen was like, or the Queen of Hearts or whatever, was like a dictator that was like cutting people's heads off. Big difference between like her and the Mad Hatter, but I feel like Max should have gotten that chance anyway. I kind of half expected it to be like the girls would like go back in time somehow, or I thought it would be like Red would go back in time, not a ton, but just like a little bit, and like give the pocket watch back, which would prevent, you know, Maddox from like becoming evil, and then everything would be fine. So I was surprised it didn't turn out that way. But he was the character I actually did kind of feel the most sorry for. But like but that's just in terms of Max. Maddox as a villain just feels kind of boring. It feels a lot like how Audrey was in the third movie, where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna stay in this one place and like watch the characters and not really do much. But like Maddox wasn't really that entertaining as a villain either, because at first I thought, oh cool, like we're getting a Mad Hatter character as a villain, that could be like kind of interesting and stuff, and he's sort of like kind of playful in a way, but I just didn't really care about him that much. He just felt like a villain for like really weak reasons, honestly, because I feel like there's so many things of like you time travel and it's like, time travel was revealed to go wrong. So I feel like there could have been better ways to, someone's a villain this time, we gotta do it. I mean, it does sort of make sense for Maddox because it like was originally his pocket watch and stuff, but I feel like that's such a dumb reason to like end up becoming a villain. I feel like that happens with a lot of characters though, where sometimes I feel like they immediately become villains and it just doesn't really feel justifiable to me. Okay, let me continue. So you get to see the Smee twins. I kind of forgot about them because they were like really little kids. I didn't even think about like how much time had actually passed between like this movie and Descendants 3, because they were like really little kids in the third movie when they're allowed to go to Oridon and stuff. But here they're like high school age, they're teenagers, because this is like the next generation of kids and stuff. So that's actually pretty cool. What is funny to me though is that they have the fairy godmother in every single movie, and she's still played by the same actress, but they don't like give her a wig or change her makeup or anything to make her look older. So it's like she just does not age throughout like any of these movies. She's like the one character that keeps coming back for whatever reason, which did kind of feel almost a little unnecessary, because they already had it set up where like Uma in the previous movie is like the principal now, so and the fairy godmother was going to be in charge of something else, and I thought that was going to be an excuse of like not just to make Uma more important, but like, oh okay, you know, she's going to be doing other stuff, we probably won't see her anymore. But it's like, nope, she keeps showing up. I don't have anything against her, I just find that kind of weird. But yeah, the Smee twins are older now, and I thought, okay, maybe that could be interesting, because like, you know, they were there for the barrier being taken down and all this and stuff with like the third movie, even though they didn't really get to do much, and now they're teens and maybe they get to do something. No, they're the comic relief characters. They don't have any plot importance. Again, like, what's the point of even having them there? And then you find out that Dr. Facilier and Captain Hook have more kids, where one of them has a son and one of them has a daughter. I don't remember the son's name, but the daughter, I think her name was Hazel. I mean, I like both Dr. Facilier and Captain Hook as like Disney characters, and like the first time around when they had kids, I thought, okay, that's kind of cool, because I liked Celia and I really liked Harry Hook. I thought they were like fun characters, even though one was more like plot important than the other. But I didn't see the point in them having like more kids that are in this movie, because I mean, Hazel is at least a little bit important in that she mostly just kind of gives pep talks to like Red and Chloe, and then Dr. Facilier's son, I don't think he really gets anything to do, but it kind of felt like a missed opportunity a little bit, because one of the things I do actually like with this series is like, okay, it's the kids of all of these like heroes and villains, so it's like fun ways to see like personality wise how are they different from their parents, but it's like these teen versions of like these characters we know and love or whatever, in a sense of like their fashion and aesthetics and stuff. And that's what's cool with like each new movie of like we get a different interpretation of these like characters and stuff. But like if we're just reusing the same parents where it's like, oh, these people actually have like younger kids now or whatever, and it just feels kind of like a waste to me. Where it could have been used for like, we could give other Disney characters kids, because they go like all over the board with it, where it's like now we have like the Cheshire Cat. I wouldn't have expected like Smee of all people, feels like kind of random shit. But then again, now I mean you have like a Captain Hook character in like almost every one of these movies actually, so I guess that kind of works. I do like that the Smee twins work for Hazel, kind of like how their parents work for each other and stuff. I mean there are some interesting things this movie does of like, in terms of, here's what happened with the time travel, like Red's mom suddenly being good and how that affects Red, because it means that Red's automatically not a villain kid anymore, but it's not like her memories or personality changed, so it's like she still has that mentality and has to like get used to it. And then it's kind of weird with Chloe. That's the part I still don't really understand, where it's like her mom, like when she meets the younger version of her mom originally, she's like basically trying to get Chloe to not be as much of like a goody two-shoes anymore, and is like, hey, if you need to do like sus things for like the greater good, go for it, break the rules. And then they go into this new timeline and she gets to talk to like the adult version of her mom, and her mom is basically saying the exact opposite and is being like actually kind of a bit uptight and is like a completely different personality. And they do end up talking through it, and at the end Cinderella's like, hey, you reminded me about this part of myself I forgot and I need to be brave. And it is something that like Cinderella herself has to like deal with throughout the movie. Actually both Bridget and Cinderella have like conversations about that, of like about their daughters and themselves and whatever, and their friendship. But yeah, that was something I didn't understand, because like, I mean, Chloe did get to meet Ella and interact with her and stuff in the past, but if anything, it was like Ella lifted up Chloe and her confidence and everything. It didn't really feel like Chloe changed anything in terms of like Ella's personality, and it's not like anything happened to Ella, kind of like how like the Queen of Hearts became nice, you know, because the prank didn't happen. Nothing big like that seemed to happen to Ella at all, so I'm still confused of like, why was her personality completely different after time travel? Oh yeah, and they introduce a new character. Her name's Pink. Is another character that includes this character is so brightly color coded, it's insane. She's so brightly pink. I mean, it probably is to, you know, because Bridget was like more of a lighter pink, so we can't have like two pink characters. She does kind of feel like a Bridget 2.0, but it feels weird because like Bridget's smiles and like kindness and stuff felt genuine, like that's just who she is. But then with this pink character, like her name is literally Pink, I mean, it just feels kind of weird to me. I don't really know what the purpose of her character is supposed to be exactly. It's like really confusing of like, they there's like this new timeline now. This is what I was saying of like the person that didn't exist suddenly exists. They go back to the present, and Pink is there, and she's like spawned into the universe as like Red's younger sister, and this does not mean we get to see a dad character for Red or anything. It's just like she has this younger sister who has this whole life with Red in this new timeline, but this version of Red, you know, it's the one from the older timeline, so Pink is like a complete stranger to her and stuff. That felt really weird. I guess, I don't know, the Queen of Hearts becoming nice means she decided to have a second kid at some point. But it does seem like Pink is only a little bit younger than Red anyway. And we do get to see eventually, like, Red gains the memories of this new timeline of, like, this childhood with Pink, and then they're suddenly like best buddies and stuff. But it does feel, Pink just feels really weird to me, where it's like, you know, she's a character that's only introduced in this movie. There wasn't ever, I was like so used to Red as just like an only child that had to struggle, because this Pink character, you know, only exists in this new timeline, so she never knew anything about like the Red Queen being like evil. She's only existed in like Wonderland being nice and everything. It's all she's like ever known. I thought that would cause like a bit more conflict with her and Red. If anything, the conflict comes from Red kind of just seeing like Pink's so nice all the time and whatever, and kind of seems to almost treat her the same way as Bridget, of seeing her as like kind of like, oh, being soft and nice is like you're weak. It kind of felt like that again. And then it's weird because Pink has conversations with Red, but it's only these kind of like heart-to-heart conversations of like, yeah, just because I'm good doesn't mean I'm like dumb, or, you know, that I should be ignored or whatever. I did kind of feel a little bit bad for Pink anyway, because she is constantly being ignored by Red. That's the other thing, is like it's really just mainly like Red and Chloe that are like the main characters and stuff. Like Red is constantly leaving Pink behind. But to be fair, it's like, how do you have a relationship with someone? I mean, they did technically like grow up together, but like Red has no memories of that at all. Like Pink literally didn't exist for Red's entire life, and is basically just like a stranger that's being like super nice to her and everything. Like it's just really kind of awkward and weird. But yeah, Pink's just kind of whatever to me as a character. I didn't feel like I cared about her or anything. And she keeps having like all of this screen time. I mean, she does end up being plot important. She does like save the day at the end and stuff, but she just doesn't really feel interesting to me. I just don't really see, I feel like, I mean, the ending would have to be different with the movie and stuff, because it ends with like Pink becoming huge, and she is like helpful during the adventure, but I feel like at the same time, you know, you already have the thing of like Red treating people meanly with like Chloe and stuff. So I feel like there really isn't a reason for Pink to exist. Like you could remove her from the movie and it would almost like pretty much be the exact same. Let me see what else. But yeah, it's kind of interesting when they go to Wonderland, like they're right about to go into like down the rabbit hole or whatever. It's showing all of these characters that are going with Red. And there's just too many characters. It's like there's Red and Chloe, there's Pink, there's like the two new hero kids, there's like this you know, Luis and Robbie Hood or whatever, who I think Robbie Hood doesn't really get anything to do in this. There's like the two Smee twins, and then there's like 5 of these like villain kids that decide to just come along. It's like they're villain kids, but they never really get to do anything evil. Not really. They're just kind of like along for the ride and just kind of feel like part of the group. It's just kind of weird. So that is like, I think almost like 10 people or something. I don't even know if like Mal had this many people with her in the third movie. I mean, maybe she did, but at least with like Descendents 3, there's like plot important characters like Jane, for example, but she was off like doing things on the side to help out. Like not everyone was on the adventure. So it just feels like there's too many characters in this. And the movie knows it, because there's always at least like 2 characters that will end up just getting stuck somewhere off screen multiple times, and then they end up rejoining the group, where I think Robbie Hood's one of them, where they end up like stuck in a teacup out in the middle of the ocean, or they end up getting shrunk and just like left behind by the group. And like the movie shows this, and then it just kind of moves on. So it just feels like, okay, if the movie's getting rid of characters at this point, it's like, why do we need all these people in the first place? I will say, I like the looks of a lot of the characters. I feel like, well, I wasn't paying enough attention for the wigs, but I like the new looks for like Chloe and for Red. I like that Red's hair is like a little bit different. I think her outfit's kind of a bit different too. I like with Chloe, her hair just kind of looks a bit more natural. Because she does still have like the curls and stuff, but it just looked more like poofy and more like a wig in the previous movie. But I really like her outfit here, where it's like it's more silver and like lighter blue, and it's kind of almost princely looking, if anything. It looks like something a prince would wear rather than like a princess in a sense, as like the like blouse part of her outfit, and I thought that was really cool. Kind of made me wish she got to do like more sword fighting stuff, because that was kind of her thing in like the previous movie. And I do like that the adventure, it's called Wicked Wonderland, which I kept forgetting that so many times when I was looking up stuff about this movie or trying to put it on my Letterboxd or whatever. I kept typing in Twisted Wonderland and I was like, wait, why isn't the movie popping up? And I remember that's a completely different... Oh yeah, that's the other thing too. It's like, this is a series that's about like villain kids and hero kids for like Disney characters, which that concept is like not new. I guess that was like a trend in the mid 2000s, because there's like the Ever After High thing as well. But then Twisted Wonderland or whatever, there's like a whole anime series where it's like Disney villains, but they're like anime boys or something. I know they got like an actual anime that's on like Hulu now. Wasn't it like originally a gacha game though? I am slightly curious about it, I guess because they've watched Descendants now. I don't know if it's good though. I might have to do research. That's a maybe. If I ever talk about it on here, whatever. I feel like because of these movies, I'm like on a Disney kick now. But yeah, it takes place in Wonderland. That's pretty neat, because that was something I was hoping with like the previous movie, because that one, you know, it's like it's gonna take place in school again. I do like that these movies, at least with this one and Descendants 3, they don't take place in a school. It's like we're gonna go on like an adventure and whatever, but this one entirely takes place in Wonderland, and that was pretty fun. I do like the designs for a lot of the animals and creatures and stuff. You have like the butterfly toast, you have like these flamingos made out of flowers and walking mushrooms, and all just the wacky stuff you'd expect, but also the challenges they have to go through. They have to like play chess at one point. They get like shrunken down. They're basically going on like Alice's whole journey pretty much. But Wonderland is such like a fun location. It's like no wonder it's constantly used in like all kinds of media, really, that I'm not surprised at all that with Descendants they're like, okay, let's just make a movie set in Wonderland already. I thought that was pretty fun. So it's like the adventure itself I was cool with. It's just in the location, especially, it's just the characters I didn't really care a lot about. Oh yeah, I have a note about the Smee twins that just says they share one brain cell and they're now just reduced to the comic relief. I do like that we get some scenes. I'd mentioned a little bit of like Cinderella and Bridget. I mean, she's not referred to Bridget in this, but I just feel like calling her the Queen of Hearts is like kind of a mouthful. And her name's technically Bridget, so I guess I'll call her Bridget. What happens is that like Bridget gets captured like almost immediately, and Cinderella actually goes in to rescue her. I do like that her prince, what I keep wanting to call him her prince, but like Cinderella's the queen in this. He does try to follow her, but he gets like left behind, because he can't get through the magic portal or whatever, just so it could be like Bridget and Cinderella and stuff. And then I do like, even though they're kidnapped, we do get to see them talk and stuff, and they have a whole song together. That song was really nice, actually. But yeah, I did like that, because like the entire movie was about their friendship and everything, and now their personalities are different here. So that's, I mean, I don't think they know about the time travel or whatever. But it means their entire relationship is different, because now it means that they continued being friends their entire lives and everything, because the prank never happened. So I thought that was interesting. It's like, you know, we're not just dealing with like the consequences of time travel, we're dealing with like how it affects everyone's like entire lives. Like for Chloe and Red, it's like, okay, we time traveled and we went back to the future, and it's like whatever. But for like everyone else, they had to live their entire life in the gap between those spaces and everything of like the past and the new present. So I thought that was interesting that the movie kind of got to explore the effects on everybody else, basically. Hold on, I have to kind of skip through my notes a little bit. You know, something that is kind of weird to me though is, you know, the entire focus of like the first 3 Descendants movies was about, you know, there's Oridon and then there's the Isles, and the Isles being a location and everything, because the barrier is taken down in the 3rd movie, so, you know, we can't do any stories about like the barrier anymore, and now it's like we have Wonderland as the location here. But even like the first, or not the, I keep wanting to say the first movie, the previous movie, it took place, I mean, it's not technically Oridon Prep, it's like the Merlin School or whatever, but no one in these 2 movies ever talks about the Isle anymore. And I can't even say like, oh yeah, this new generation is growing up where like the barrier doesn't exist and, you know, everybody gets to come to Oridon and whatever. But it's that a lot of these characters, you know, like the Smee kids at least like grew up on the Isle, or like some of these villain kids, these like younger siblings and stuff, I'm assuming also grew up there, and no one talks about it anymore. It's as if like the Isles don't exist. It just feels kind of weird because it was like such a focus in like the other movies, and it was something that was always interesting to me with the villain kids, because it played such a big part, not just in like their backstories, but like how they feel compared with like the hero kids and stuff. But yeah, they don't ever talk about it in these anymore. But there's still the thing with like the villain kids and the hero kids having like beef with each other, even though the barrier isn't an issue. And it's not even anything of like, oh, they're from the Isles or stuff about the barriers or whatever. It's just like, oh yeah, you're a villain kid, you know, so it's like we gotta treat you differently or whatever. You know, it feels kind of weird. I mean, I'm not expecting all of that would have like fully gone away, and it's like these kids' parents are still like, you know, the Disney villains and stuff, but I don't know. I think if anything, with like the barrier being gone and this takes place like basically like a newer generation, I thought, you know, the stuff between the villain kids and the hero kids would be softened at least like a little bit, especially because it feels like there's some like themes in this that are kind of repeating from like the other movies. Like they learned the whole lesson of like maybe everyone deserves a do-over and stuff, but it's less about like, oh yeah, you're a villain kid and you become good, and it's more of like, oh, you were being an asshole or you became a villain and now you have the chance to be good. It's like a bit different, but it's still like lessons, kind of like the same lessons, and it's like we're having to do them again. It, I don't know, feels weird. Let me see what else. One of the big things with this is Chloe ends up becoming evil. It's kind of funny to me whenever anyone becomes evil suddenly, when it's like a hero kid becoming a villain, they not only get a makeover, but they become cartoonishly evil. It's like really hard to take them seriously at that point. I was bummed with Chloe because like she has these really pretty curls, and then her hair becomes like almost completely straight. It's like a little curly at the end, but it comes almost completely straight, and it's like silvery too a little bit, but it looked kind of reminded me of like tinsel almost. It just looked weird. It didn't feel like Chloe without her curls. I was like sad about that. But yeah, Chloe becomes a villain because, well, she ends up putting on this like magic bracelet and stuff, so I feel like that's probably part of it, but it's mostly because like she hadn't been treated well by Red, which I get that. I get she was upset and she almost got fed to like a poisonous plant or whatever, but I feel like because this movie takes place within only a couple of like days, and it's not like her and Red have like known each other very long anyway, or Chloe really knowing like any of these characters, so it's like, you know, her and her new bestie are fighting, and it's been a couple days, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna be just a villain now. That's what's hard for me to take some of these movies seriously, because they're all just like a bunch of high school students, and they get into these squabbles, and instead of it being like, yeah, I'm a teenager and I'm like getting into a fight with my friend or someone wronged me or whatever, and you know, those things happen, instead it's like, nope, I'm evil now and I'm gonna be a villain and potentially try to like hurt people or whatever. It just feels like sometimes such an overreaction. It's crazy. I mean, I do see where Chloe's coming from, and I do feel like it could be interesting with her character and stuff of like becoming a villain. But then it's temporary. It's not only temporary. I mean, I think this happens with like almost every hero girl that becomes a villain, is like it ends up being temporary, or it doesn't continue till the next movie. But like Chloe is only like in villain mode or whatever for like 5 minutes. I'm not even kidding. Like the way it gets solved is like she talks to Red a little bit, and Red apologizes, and Chloe takes off the magic bracelet, and that's it. She's back to being a hero. Like, you could, if there was an argument of like the magic bracelet like brainwashed her a little bit, or like amplified her feelings or something, you know, I'd understand, because then she like takes it off, she like makes friends with Red again, and you know, kind of calm down a bit. But like, no, it was like pretty much her choice for the most part. So yeah, that just felt kind of weird to me. Like, I'm fine with her getting mad at Red and stuff, and they have and characters call out Red, like Pink calls out Red about not, it's interesting where it's like, I feel like Pink's trying to say like, I know you just tolerate me and you think I'm just like this nice person, whatever, but she doesn't actually really say it to directly to Red of like, you're hurting my feelings or something. It's just like, yeah, I'm nice, and people I know when people tolerate me rather than actually liking me or whatever. It's like a passive aggressive way of like telling Red like, hey, you're not being good to me or whatever. And then I do like that we get flashback of like Pink and Red as kids, and that's, you know, when Red gets her memories back, because I was expecting something like that in this movie, because it feels weird like if we didn't ever get that, and then it was just like, okay, we have to accept like Pink into our lives and whatever, and it's like, we don't know you and Red doesn't know you. You know, I feel bad I'm like complaining so much about Pink. It's just, I just really don't get the point of her character existing. And I feel like the fact of like, oh, you know, because of the time travel, you have this younger sister now. Actually, it doesn't even feel like because of the time travel. I mean, it technically is, because otherwise it would have meant like, you know, Red grew up with this sister her whole life or whatever. So I guess it is kind of interesting of like Pink, you know, doesn't know about the original timeline. But I feel like that could have been interesting of like, you know, this person you don't know that knows you. Or I could even see it like Pink's already kind of, not Pink, Red's already being mean anyway of like, you know, her having a sister that she just ignores, even if Pink wasn't created from the timeline. I feel like so many things with that could be played around, but I just didn't really, there's like so little of a focus of Pink that's like could be explored with her character that it just, I don't know, man. When they throw the pocket watch into the well, it's like a weird scene where it's like suddenly there's like a voiceover and like text appears on the well about like it storing secrets. It's like a riddle or something, and that just came so out of nowhere. It felt really weird. And then they go to defeat Maddox or whatever, and it's so funny to me. He gets caught in like 5 seconds. It's basically like the group breaks into the castle, which the only reason they couldn't get in their first place was there was like a magic spell of like these roses or whatever, and that ends up becoming undone, I think, when like the watch gets thrown in the well. I don't really know how that correlates, but whatever. And then everyone shows up and they don't fight him or anything, they just corner him, and then he gets trapped in like a chandelier, and that's like pretty much it basically. I just miss, like, there used to be, you know, a feeling of danger a little bit of like, okay, we gotta go and stop the villain, and like the characters took it seriously. I mean, it never was anything that was long. It was always kind of like 5 minutes, but it was usually like a fight or something, or at least with like the first 2 movies it was cool of like, I mean, it was usually Mal has to turn into a dragon and fight like Uma, or or oh wait, no, that was only in the second movie she had to fight Uma. Yeah. The first one, you know, her mom turns into a dragon and Mal has to do the friendship spell. It's like a tense moment, and like if you screw up, you know, you lose. But then in this, it's just like, okay, we caught Maddox, we didn't have to do anything. It just feels like kind of an afterthought, and it's like, this is supposed to be the main villain of your movie. It's like the further the series goes on, the easier it is for them to like stop the villain. Or like the third movie, it was like using the Hades stone against like Audrey with the scepter, I guess because there's not really magic anymore. You know, that was the other thing. I was praising the previous movie of like, yeah, the characters get to like actually do magic and shit. In this movie, they don't really get to, like, Wonderland itself is magical, but like, and there's like a spell on the castle, but no one really gets to do magic. Like, it is kind of nice to have a main character that's not super overpowered and has like magical abilities, because I was kind of tired of that with Mal. Like, Red is just normal, but like nobody has to fight each other, and I miss that. It's like, that's the thing of like, there's all these Disney characters that, you know, within their own movies and stuff, there's like magic and they turn into creatures and all this crazy shit that happens. And I can understand at least a bit with their like kids, maybe they don't inherit all of that, but a lot of them are just so normal, or like OCs or whatever, or not OCs. I was gonna say OCs because I was thinking of Red and Chloe, and I'm like, wait, no, they're the daughters of two of these other characters, you know. Oh yeah, they're princesses. Wait, there's something I have to talk about. I completely skipped some things with my notes. I don't like some of the lines in this this movie. Like, there's a song, oh yeah, I skipped through most of the song. This was the movie, I'll be honest, I was kind of just skipping through parts of it because I just got really bored. There's a song at the beginning about, I think it's probably called like Perfect Princess or something, and it's about like, hey, you're in the new timeline, look at all these new things that are happening and whatever, and Chloe and Red are like, what? And there's a line in the song from one of the villain kids that's just perfect princess nepo babies, that's a real fucking line in this movie, and I'm like, no. But then it's like the way the characters talk occasionally too. Like, there's a point when like Red and Luis are talking, and she says like, you give good son energy, and he's like, you give good princess, and it just feels weird. I swear the other ones didn't feel this like lingo-y. There's something about, I guess maybe because they live in like a magical Disney world or whatever, we're just hearing stuff like that. Like, I understand they're high schoolers, so like it makes sense coming from them, but it still feels really weird with dialogue like that. Thankfully it's not too much, but it just, every time something like that happened, it kind of like threw me for a loop. And then they have a tea party at the end of the movie. That was kind of cool, actually. Like, it does kind of end in a nice way, whatever. But then they have the freaking cat say like, you didn't think this was the end of the story, did you? And I'm like, oh my gosh, again. I mean, it doesn't follow up with a line about like, hey, be careful about time travel. And they got rid of the time travel watch, so like, no more time travel. I mean, I doubt there's gonna be like another one of these, but like, you know, I guess if it's like, hey, we're having a second trilogy and we're gonna finish off stuff with like Chloe and Red, you know, they can't do time travel stuff anymore, so they'd have to do like an original plot. But yeah, I'm assuming that line means there's something, but it's like, I don't feel like there's anything to wrap up. I mean, to be fair, it was like the Descendants 3 also felt unnecessary. I mean, even Descendants 1 didn't really feel like it needed a sequel. I mean, I guess with the second movie, it was like, okay, the characters are good, but they want to be bad again and stuff. Like, Mal wants to be a villain again, and then they have to rescue Ben. But that was kind of like, hey, what about the other villain kids that didn't get picked? So like, I can understand that. Descendants 3 did feel like kind of unnecessary, of like, oh, hey, we brought back Audrey and she's the villain now. Like, I get why Audrey's the villain, but you know, I feel like that could have been solved, her issues, and getting the apology from like Mal and Ben, and like maybe the end of the first movie or something. I didn't feel like they needed a whole movie for the Audrey plotline. And then this movie feels kind of unnecessary too. I mean, it is interesting of like they time traveled and now you have to deal with the consequences of time travel. I feel like that does kind of make sense, even though if the previous movie was just like 30 minutes longer, you could have added some kind of plot of like, we fucked up, we have to fix the time travel and deal with our consequences. Like I was saying, that could have worked fine. But instead they're like, we're gonna have a separate movie for it. It's just the way the movie does it. And it's not really like I mean, it is the consequences of time travel of like they ruined Maddox's life and stuff, but like they don't actually fix it. That's the problem. They just prevent him from doing anything, and he's still just stuck like this in the timeline. Like it's not really the consequences of time travel, other than like it makes a new villain. It just feels kind of a bit like half-assed to me. That I feel like if they just changed around stuff with the plot. Yeah, sorry. I didn't like this one. I mean, there's some things like them being in Wonderland and stuff that's kind of cool, but it just feels like at this point it's like, okay, I feel like the series just kind of needs to be like over at this point. I do like the idea of like, yeah, spin-offs, and like Wonderland's a cool thing to do spin-offs, and it's like, let's see what this new generation of kids are like that don't have to live on the Isle and stuff, but it just feels kind of boring at this point. I just feel like there was like less effort in this one. Yeah, I mean, I guess if there's any more of these movies, unless they do something really cool, I just don't care anymore. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm obviously not like the target audience for this. I'm like a grown adult talking about these like kids movies or whatever. And to be fair, it's not like every Disney Channel original movie or whatever that I grew up with was like amazing either. A lot of them were kind of cringe and had plot holes and whatever and stuff. But it's like, this is at least the point with this series. And I mean, it happens with other Disney Channel original movies and stuff too, where it's like, if a series goes on for too long, it just kind of gets worse. You know, I'm not like specifically trying to single out Descendants or anything. I just want to clarify that. Okay, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm gonna go do something else. But yeah, thanks for listening. You know what? It's at least I was originally planning on just checking out the first movie, and I ended up at least liking the first 3 movies, and I somehow ended up just kind of watching the whole series. I wasn't expecting that, but at least I can say I did it. Okay,